You're very welcome to Lorna Parker here on WLR. It's Tomás McCarthy here till 7 o'clock. Coming up on another packed show, Liam versus Liam. Michael Ryan on the meeting of Liam Cahill's Waterford and Liam Sheedy's Tipperary at Welsh Park on Sunday. White Flag. Daisha football selector Paul White on Sunday's promotion clash with Antrim. And Red and Green. Clashmore Kinsale Beg is the next stop in the Pride of the Parish series.
So the ball is about to be thrown in. Waterford playing from left to right. We're up here on the top of the stand here in Pearse Stadium in Salthill. Beautiful sunny afternoon and pitch in perfect condition. Ball in and game is on.
The taxman's taken
Sean O'Brien, brilliant mind under 21 with his club De La Salle, highly rated by a lot of the club members. There's the ball plucked inside, brilliantly inside by Bennett. Bennett offloads a chance here for Waterford. It's back at the net for Waterford there. Brilliantly taken, and Jack Prendergast ran on from nowhere. Lovely ball onto Prendergast, and the Lismore man buried it in the back of the net. Great score, Jack Prendergast.
Save me, save me, save me from this squeeze.
Sean Loftus sends it inside. This could be dangerous to the big man inside. Prunty's trying to take goals. Ball gone into Concannon. What's he going to do? Concannon takes the shot, frost the face of the goal. Oh, a chance there, right chance for Adrian Dewey. Concannon sent it across. Dewey buries it in the back of the net.
Life of luxury, lazing on a sunny afternoon.
Caught by Bennett, went soared into the air. Lovely ball inside. This could be a great chance for Waterford to do business here. Onto his brother Kieran. Kieran takes a shot. Oh, blocked down inside. He gets a second chance of it. Tries to work the ball inside. Good chance for goal. What a goal for Waterford there. Good interplay by the Bennett. And it's Bennett in the end. Bennett to Bennett to Bennett. Where would you get it? And Shane buries it in the net. Good play by Stephen. Got it on to Kieran. And in the end, back to Shane, who just buried it.
Memories of, I think, a goal that Shane got against Dublin, I think, in Thurles a few years ago. The drop shot into the goal. And if you can get that right, no one can ever stop it.
Sunny afternoon. Help me, help me, help me save.
Puck out to Galway, down into the corner come Concannon, gone inside his marker. Concannon gives the ball across. Good chance of a goal here for Galway. That's exactly what it is. Back at the net for Galway, and Joe Canning, you don't give him half a chance. Concannon set it up, Joe buries it.
Live so pleasantly. Live this life of luxury.
Cahill Mannion gets it on to Joe. Joe steadying it up. Joe turns his marker. Joe inside the 45. Canning now putting the boot down for a 32-year-old. He's looking very fresh. Onto Conor Cooney. Brilliantly saved by O'Brien, but in the state it's the back of the net. Cooney took a brilliant shot. It was brilliantly saved, but unfortunately from Waterford point of view, right on hand was Concannon and buries it in the back of the net.
Save me, save me, save me from this.
Dizzy instead takes it in the back of the net there. He went high. Bennett was outside him, but it was Dizzy Hutchinson, caught the ball, turned back of the net. Brilliant from the Ballygunner race.
Oh, what a goal, what a catch. You know, we all want the kind of low ball in front of Desi, but like he came out very high, caught a great high ball and turned, and my God, right in the corner. He couldn't have placed it better.
Concannon's gone inside. This could be dangerous. Concannon and O'Brien. Oh, Concannon! Back at the net for Galway there. All too easy there. Austin Leeson just didn't control. The ball broke to Concannon. You don't give that Galway man a second chance, and that's exactly what he does. He buries it in the back of the net.
So after losing that 7-goal shootout to Galway in Salthill last Sunday, the Waterford hurlers are back on home soil on this Sunday when they host Tipperary for a 1:45 throw-in. And to preview Sunday's big match in Welsh Park, delighted to be joined the line by former Daisha boss Michael Ryan. And first of all, Michael, how would you rate Waterford's display against Galway last Sunday?
I think, what really proved costly was the 5 minutes before half time. From the 32nd minute to the 37th minute, they went from 6 points up to 3 points down, and that certainly wouldn't be happy about that. But some good pieces, some good displays. I mean, Desi Hutchinson was magnificent. There's a couple of fellas played really, really well, but certainly there is room for improvement. That has to be said too.
How worried will Liam Cahill be about conceding 428?
Well, I'm sure he won't be happy, because also conceded a good few goals against Cork. I think it was 5 goals against Cork. Then produced a really good display against Limerick. But so Waterford are probably somewhere in the middle, but there's something he'll have to work in, because any day you concede 4 goals, you're unlikely to win a match. And I suppose that extra bit of defending was probably start this weekend against Tipperary.
And we saw Austin Gleeson starting at centre-back again last Sunday, Michael, just as he did against Limerick. Like, he was one of Waterford's top forwards in last year's championship. Got 5 points the first day out against Cork and Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Where can he be most effective for Waterford this summer, do you think?
Well, if ideally, I'd like to see him playing in the forwards, but obviously there is a gap to be filled now that Tig is not playing, and Tig is a massive, massive loss. And in fairness to Austin, it must be said, I thought he had a decent enough game against Limerick, but it's going to take a little while to settle back into that position again because he's been playing midfield, he's been full forward, centre forward, wing forward, he's played just about everywhere. So if that is to be his home for the next couple of years or so, for the next, or even for this season, it's obviously going to take a little bit of time to settle into it. It's never going to happen overnight. And, there is a gap there. There is a vacancy there. There's no question about that. Maybe Ila Daly will come back into consideration. I don't know. And in fairness to the management team, they're watching these guys in training and they've seen who is doing what. So I'm sure they'll come up with the answer. But, I wouldn't just judge Austin on last week. I mean, I've no doubt in after a couple more games, if he is to play centre back, he'll be a different kettle of fish.
And Kevin Moran has made a big impression off the bench, Michael, against both Westmeath and Limerick. Do you see a role for him going forward, looking ahead to that Clare game at the end of June?
I've always felt that Kevin Moran's best position was in the half back line. He played centre for his club when I was manager, and he also played left half back for one of a number of occasions. I always felt that was his best position. He's been very good in other positions as well, that has to be said. I certainly see a role for Kevin Moran, although he's 34 years of age. I think he was 34 last March, so he's not a young fella anymore. So he's probably not not able for the full 70 minutes. But he's certainly a good guy to have around, and he can play in a lot of different positions. And I think he certainly can have an impact in this year's championship.
Yeah, and look, if Irla Daly is the man to fill that number 6 role, Michael, would Kevin Moran be an ideal man to have alongside? I suppose just his vast experience and the way he could cover in defence as well.
Yeah, well, Kevin Moran will be an ideal man to have beside anybody. He's a very experienced player. He's a good deliverer of the ball, puts good ball into the forwards. He can play centre, he can play left half back. And again, as I said, it's up to me to pick the team. But if he is chosen, I have no doubt he won't let anybody down. He's probably looking at this as maybe his last season in a Waterford jersey, and he'll want to go out on a high. And if he does get the nod, I think he's capable of doing the job.
And you mentioned Desi Hutchinson earlier, Michael. Like, he got a real goal of the season contender at the start of the second half. How important will he be for the rest of the summer?
Well, funny, I was listening to a conversation on Desi there about a couple of months ago, and people were saying he had a decent enough first season, that he'd be found out the second season, that he wouldn't be able for the physicality. He was only used to playing soccer, but I think he put an awful lot that to bed last weekend. I thought he was outstanding. He won his own ball. His movement is very good. He chipped in with an absolutely brilliant goal, a sensational goal. There's no question about that. And they got 3 or 4 points as well. And I have no doubt that the best of Desi Hutchinson is coming down the track. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him play this year. If he gets good ball in, he's a match for anybody. And he can make his own space. He can take a chance. He's nippy. He's got a great jink, a great sidestep. He knows where the posts are. He's got everything at his disposal. And he's going to go on to be a top player.
Yeah, hard to argue with that, Michael. And looking ahead to Sunday's game, there is a possibility that Waterford and Tipperary will face each other in a Munster semi-final at the start of July if Waterford get past Clare. With all that in mind, what approach do you think the two Liams will take to this fixture?
Well, even looking at the entire league, Tomas, it's hard to know where anybody is, because I've no doubt some people are playing cat and mouse. They're holding back an ace in the pack. More people are trying to find their best team and their best get fellas playing together on a regular basis. So, from Tipperary's point of view, they're top of the table. They've had a decent league so far. I would think that they haven't blooded so many new players. And maybe, in fairness to Liam Sheedy, maybe the new players are putting up their hand in training. They've tried a few fellas, but very few of those younger Tipperary players seem to have nailed out a position on the team. Maybe that could change in the next couple of weeks or so. So I think from Liam Sheedy's point of view, I think obviously he'll probably want to put down a bit of a marker, but it won't be the end of the world for Tipperary in this game on Sunday. I think the approaches, maybe they might try a few new guys. They might try something different. They'll be aiming to hold something back. But then again, of course, Tipperary are a very cocky race of people, and they'll fancy their chances against anybody. So if you're asking me, will they come down with all guns blazing? I think they just mightn't do that. But Waterford still got to be wary, because even Tipperary at 80% are still a very difficult side.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you're speaking like a man that's on the the Waterford Tipperary border there, Michael. But if you were in the position of being one of those managers on Sunday coming into a game where you could be facing the same opposition in a couple of weeks' time, would you go full strength or would you hold something back?
Well, you always like to think maybe you'd hold an ace in the pack, you'd hold something back, but at the same time, you wouldn't want to go out and play poorly and suffer a bit of a defeat because that won't do anything for confidence. And from all of us' point of view, they had a really good win against Limerick. There's no question about that, and probably back a little bit last weekend. But you must remember they travelled up to Galway. I would imagine, I don't know this, but I imagine they travelled the day of the game. Always a long ways away. It's 3 or 4 hours on the bus. You get off, and it isn't an easy place to go. It's very hard to win in Salt Hill. I think we won there a few times in the past. I think we won there when I was manager, but that's not got to do with that. But it's surreal in many ways. So from all of us' point of view, I think they might like to hold something back, but they'll also try and hold the team and get the team ready for the championship. Because you got to remember that in 2 weeks' time they play Clare. That's the most important game of the season as far as Waterford and Clare are concerned. Clare haven't started that well this year either, but again they scored. Tony Kelly got something like 20 points last week, so they'll be that game is a ticket to a really good season. The winner of that can go on and have a good season, so it's a vital game.
And speaking of Tony Kelly and big scores, Michael, like we had 58 scores in Salt Hill last Sunday. We saw both Clare and Limerick break the 30-point barrier. Would you be concerned at all by that high rate of scoring that we're seeing in hurling lately?
Well, it's funny. I was watching the sports program on Sunday night, and people almost giving out about a lot of scores. A couple of weeks ago, there was pandemonium because most of the scores we got from freeze. Now there's a bit of a complaint that a lot of scores are got from play. I think any manager wouldn't be happy to concede a large amount. It's great to watch, though. I mean, that was a decent game last week. I enjoyed that game. There was a lot of good hurling in it, and some very good moves and some very good passages to play. But from a manager's point of view, they wouldn't be happy with conceding a huge amount of goals and points. So I suspect in the championship it will be different. Things will be much, much tighter. And I think defences will probably set up a little bit different. So you'll probably see a little bit more of the blanket defence and restrict teams. And it's funny, the only team not scoring goals is Limerick. And Limerick are the All-Ireland champions. They're the barometer. But I suppose then again, you could look at it another way. They scored 33 points against Cork, and that's 11 goals. So when you think about it, they're not set up to score goals. They don't go looking for goals, but they don't concede goals either.
Yeah, I suppose like the Galway Waterford game was a bit of an outlier, Michael, in terms of like the majority of scores were got from play. We've seen the free takers rack up big tallies. Tony Kelly 20 points, as you mentioned. TJ Reid 118 the previous week. How do you feel about the way the game has been refereed during the league so far?
Well, to me anyway, all I want to see with referees is consistency. If you're going to blow for every free, that's fair enough, but it has to happen in every game. You can see contrasting standards and styles of refereeing. Well, some referees leaving off that go, others will blow for every fiddle faddle. And I'd like to see again somewhere in the middle. I think a common sense display is very much needed. And that advantage rule again. I mean that was a fantastic rule. That advantage. And the GA have this incredible talent for when something is working perfectly, they seek to change it. Why they do that, I don't know. I mean, everything was going grand. The advantage rule was working. Then they came along and changed it. Again, I don't think that should happen. But consistency is all players are looking for. And I'd like to see the play being left low. There's no question about that. I'd like to see, a little bit of physical contact. At the end of the day, it's a contact sport. So I don't like to see a situation where the referees are blowing right, left, and centre. And hopefully, I'm sure that will settle down in the championship as the championship goes along. Normally, we see these rake of frees at the start of every season, and then common sense prevail at the end of the day. And I sincerely hope that'll happen again because, there's not too much wrong with hurling. Hurling is a great game, so it's just a matter of leaving the fellas go and play.
And just one last question for you, Michael. I wanted to ask you about a player that you dealt with when you were in charge of St Mary's in Clonmel, and that's Seamus Kennedy, a player who has Balmacarbery connections, of course, and he looks like he's nailing down that centre-back spot for Tipperary with Paddy Maher at full-back. What was he like to work with?
He was absolutely incredible. I mean, he set incredible standards even playing with the club. He was always first to training. He led the team. He's a really sound guy. He was a nice voice in the dressing room, and he was a firm. And I'll never forget one of his great phrases. He's talking to top players. If you want to be a top class player, he used to say, you can't do what your friends do. And he was incredible. And as you know, he's on your all's nephew, so he has a good pedigree, and but a really top guy. And no, I like what he's doing playing for Tipperary. He seems to be settling in at centre back, and he would have a lot of experience as a top class footballer, because he really is a top class footballer. Won an All Ireland minor football medal with Tipperary, won several titles with commercials. But he seems to man the centre back spot in hurling like a footballer. He patrols in front of the D. He provides extra cover for defenders. He's always available for the full back then to take the ball. He reads the game really, really well, and he's had an incredible 4 or 5 years, and he's a top guy. And I'm not one bit surprised by the impact he's having or by the performances turning in, because he's well capable of doing that, and he's a really good player.
Well, Michael Ryan, great to chat to you as always. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Welcome, Tomas.
Dizzy instead takes it in the back of the net there. He went high, Bennett was outside him, but it was Dizzy Hutchinson, caught the ball, turned back of the net. Brilliant from the Ballygunner race.
Oh, what a goal, what a catch. You know, we all want the kind of low ball in front of Desi, but like he came out very high, caught a great high ball and turned, and my God, right in the corner. He couldn't have placed it better.
We wanted a good start to the second half. We've got a Dizzy Hutchinson.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomas McCarthy on WLR.